2, 1.
Blast off.
Welcome to the jungle. Oh, I just cut it off. I didn't even.
All right, we're still on. We're still going though.
I didn't ease out. Yeah, we
Okay,
are.
good.
That was abrupt.
It's been one of those days.
It has. We did a Facebook Live earlier before we're recording the show. Thankfully, this isn't really live. So we did it live. We haven't done that in a while, and of course, our internet went out on the.
Yeah, it's been pounding rain and thunder and lightning here in Northern Virginia.
But good thing is, internet won't affect this. It'll be good.
No, this will be good.
What do you got for us this week, Jerry?
Well, we get the weekly update show, 13 June, 2021. First thing I wanted to do is say that I lived through the swim.
You did.
Thanks to everybody that supported it. We, I think the Navy SEAL Foundation took home about $90,000 from about, I think 36 guys ended up getting in the water.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to raise with just less than 40 people. So tell us about these pictures, though. What's going on?
So it was, as you can see, a beautiful day in Boston.
It's always a beautiful day in Boston.
Oh no, it's not. It's always a beautiful day at the Black Rose, but it's not always a beautiful day everywhere in Boston. This was my kayaker extraordinaire right there in that pink kayak.
She kept you alive.
So she did. Oh, she totally did. Yeah, she did a great job kayaking. Had to pull me a little bit. I'm just saying. I had to hold on for a minute.
Just catching a breath.
Yeah, that's all. Had the Boston Police Department bagpipers up there.
Wow.
At the start, it was fantastic. We had a march on by the USS Constitution flag team was really cool. The start, all right, if you're looking at that picture, I know it's kind of small. I can't really zoom in.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're looking at all these, like, super studly people on there, right? I might be in the back somewhere. I can't find myself. But if you had a look at this picture and guess who won the race.
Well, I know the answer.
I know you know the answer.
Yeah. It wasn't that big guy in the front.
No, it wasn't that big guy in the front. This girl right here, 16 years old.
Wow.
The way the story goes, I can't verify it, but 1 or 2 seconds off making the Olympic team this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's not even a fair competition.
It was. She beat me by an hour. An hour. Yeah.
She was at home napping by the time you got done.
Honestly, dude, I got to the finish line. And she's standing there with my buddy. And her like hair's all done. She's wearing like normal clothes. And he's talking to her. He's trying to recruit her to the Naval Academy is what he was doing when I walk up to finish. And somehow in the conversation, I figure out, they start talking like how well she did and stuff. And I am like obviously dripping and trying to get my wetsuit off. And she's standing there like
nothing happened.
Like she didn't, she was just a spectator.
Didn't even break a sweat.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Do you know her name?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Yeah, it's too bad. We could give her a shout out. I don't.
Maybe we can find it out and throw it in the comments.
Yeah, we can find it out.
Yeah. Look for her in the Olympics.
I'm getting my little finisher coin. And one of the coolest things, it was the 77th anniversary of D-Day, right, on June 6th.
Yeah.
So one of the race coordinators had put together a little packet, like there's a coin and a little little packet kind of thing that had sand from Normandy, from the beach. Wow, man! Yeah, it was really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's a hell of a present.
Yeah, not something you get
suffering. You got to finish.
And there was some stuff. Yeah, it was a finisher coin and a finisher thing, and yeah. There was some suffering going on. I told you about that before, and I'm not going to share that with everybody.
But you made it out alive.
I made it alive. Yeah.
All right. That's all that matters.
All right.
And you guys raised a lot of good money.
Yeah, a lot of
money for a good cause.
Yeah, it was good. Okay, this is going to be a relatively short. I say that sometimes, and it never does come up. Honestly, I have fewer slides here.
And this guy never shuts up.
That is true. You just bleeped yourself. That was pretty good.
I'm used to do it. I do it at home all the time.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so I just want to go over a couple of things. I call it buy, sell, hold. It's really semantics. We'll talk through it. It's really semantics about how you talk about a lot of stuff on Facebook lately. I do it too. People talk about whether I would buy something now. And if you're in a brokerage account or a retirement account, and particularly TSP, it's whether or not you would buy. Like when we buy in TSP, it's our change of fund allocation money. It's the new money that's coming in every payday, right? That's when we're adding to the pot, and then we're redistributing using an IFT, right? We don't have any control over when those buys, quote unquote, happen. So there's a big difference between when would I buy, and we're going to get to that when we get to the chart on Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. But when would I buy and when would I sell in a brokerage account is different than in TSP.
Absolutely. I mean, maybe just a little bit more about that, because why is that? Because, I mean, I know the answer, right? Why is that? Because we get the closing day's price.
Right.
And we're not trying to day trade.
Right.
And we're in this for the long haul, 20, 30 years. Yeah. Like, that's not the same as if I'm working the market in a brokerage account.
Right. And so what ends up happening when you talk about it or read about it on Facebook or whatever, and people have a hard time understanding, because we had a question today on the live about it, like what would I need to see to get back into the stock funds? If I were in the stock funds right now, I wouldn't sell it, but I need to see certain things before I would buy it again. And so when I would buy it is not the same as when I would hold it, and it's not the same as when I would sell it.
Which is what we're going to kind of get into.
Yeah, we're going to get into. Okay, so I had all these notes to talk about all that, and I will try to figure out where I was at.
I love sidetracking, Jerry.
No, that's okay.
My favorite thing.
So yeah, in TSP, a buy, right, is an IFT. So we don't have any control of when the new money's coming into the account. Each payday. When I think about buying, right, I want to buy on a breakout or a reversal at some support level, right? It could be the trend line, Fibonacci retracement level, a moving average line. You could buy on a follow-through day, right, which is what I'm kind of looking for, really, to answer Sherry's question, right? The way the C fund is right now, I'm looking for a follow-through day, which would be like 1.5% or more price increase on volume bigger than the prior day. That would be a follow-through day. That would indicate that even though the market has gone sideways, didn't give us much of a correction, didn't really come down to a support level, it's still moving higher. So I might get in on that day. You could get in when IBD changes its whatever that column is.
The market trend.
The market trend, when it changes from correction, certainly when it changes from correction to new uptrend.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about and you missed the last show, we talked a lot about, I think it was last show one before. Yeah. One before, because the last show you did by yourself up in Boston.
That's right.
The one before that, Jerry talks about the Investors Business Daily, which I honestly haven't spent a lot of time looking at until the last year. And there's a lot of good info in there, and it's not that expensive. So if you're really interested in this stuff, that's a good place to kind of get some big picture stuff. But what Jerry's talking about is when you look at their market trend, I can't remember the tab. We should
big picture. It's the big picture column. Yeah.
And so they basically let you know where the overall trend is. Right. And so that's huge, because what they're using that with is basically for their index, right? To when to be in and out of the index,
right?
And they use the NASDAQ. So, but that's very similar to a methodology that you would use for a retirement account that is based off the indexes, which ours is, the TSP. Right. So it's a great tool to kind of validate your thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Again, if you look at IBD's site, you look at our site. You're watching our show, you're looking at other analysis. Yep. That's a lot of info for you to say, okay, I feel comfortable where the trend is. Right. Because that's what you want to be able to do. You're not guessing what's going to happen in the market.
No.
You're just looking for the trend.
Yeah, if you're on the right side of the trend in a retirement account like what we're doing,
you're golden.
You're good. If you're trying to day trade it, especially given our TSP rules, I mean, you can't consistently do it for sure.
That is the biggest, I think, hurdle for people mentally, both people that know what they're doing and people that are brand new at this and just trying to figure it out. Both people, I feel like, are in this mentality because this is the industry. This is what you see on TV. This is all that stuff is like, I'm supposed to be thinking of this as like a brokerage account.
Right. That's something that you see all the time on Facebook, like you got out on a red day, right? How would you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have your trade in by noon.
Right.
How are you going to know at the end of the day when you start talking about it? You go, did you get out today? Yeah, I did. Oh, you got out on a red day. You're an idiot.
You don't know. It could be a green day. We're not looking for the short-term trend, meaning daily,
right?
And really not even weekly.
No, actually, I did the weekly charts here instead of the daily charts.
Nice.
Because you can see different things in the weekly versus the daily. So, yeah, we'll get into that. So hopefully that kind of clarifies a little bit. So selling is kind of similar, right? You want to sell on a breakdown through a support level, right? You might sell. We did Fibonacci's, I think, 2 weeks ago. On a Fibonacci extension level, if it hits the extension that you're looking for, you might sell it and then wait for a breakthrough beyond that extension level and get back in. There are definitely different ways to play it. You could sell on IBD when they change to markets in correction. Holding is really what we're kind of primarily doing. So holding when the market is range bound, right, between price or between two, high and a low price, or between two support and resistance levels. So if the price is in between the 50-day and the 200-day, or between the 10-day and the 50-day, you might just hold where you're at, because it's going to break one way or the other. Once it breaks through one support line or the other, then you'll know which way to go. So just because the market is in an uptrend does not mean it's a good time to buy. Like, the market's in an uptrend right now, but it doesn't mean I would buy into it. It means I would hold it if I had it. It doesn't mean I would sell it, but I wouldn't. When I buy something, I'm looking for one of the things that we talked about: a breakout through a follow through day, a breakout through a moving average line, some big event that indicates the market's going to continue in that direction. That's when I would want to buy it. And we'll look at that on some of the charts. Okay. So the bonus chart is Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. I think it was 2 weeks ago we did this. Conan's favorite thing now is Bitcoin, and he's all into the sort of fundamentals of Bitcoin, which is great.
It's not Bitcoin itself, but crypto. So, anybody that really knows me, right? I've been a cop and a soldier my whole life, but I've always been a closet geek. My undergrad was in IT. I owned a internet service provider back in the 90s, right? The tech boom. I didn't own it. I was one of the owners. I don't want to take credit for the whole thing, but we were, anyway, like, I've always been like a closet tech geek. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that really...
It's interesting. Crypto is really interesting.
It's really interesting to see what's possible. Yeah. Not necessarily that I want to buy a Bitcoin and go buy a cup of coffee. Right. No. But like the blockchain and all that kind of stuff.
Technology behind it is really cool.
And I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, you got two choices with this. You can just ignore it because it has no impact on your life, and that's probably what a lot of people are going to do. Right. But if you have any interest in it, learn it, because it's going to affect a lot of our future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. The technology absolutely is going to affect.
Yeah, the basic technology, not the
blockchain.
Idea.
The blockchain technology is huge.
Not just I'm going to buy with digital and nobody knows who I am. And
the currency and the coin. I mean, there's so many different ways you can look at crypto in general. I mean, and the different coins and what they do, the technology behind, Ethereum versus Bitcoin, like all that. For me, as you know, I'm the technical analysis guy. So
I only care about the chart.
I only care about the chart. This could be a chart of Walmart for all I care.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The cool thing is it's really volatile. Number one. Oh, by the way, obviously this is not TSP, right?
Yeah.
It is in my IRA. Mm-hmm. So I'm buying it in a retirement account.
Yeah, and this isn't Bitcoin. Again, this is why our shows take longer, and you think it's going to go fast. Yeah.
This is all good stuff.
Yeah, but we're trying to educate people.
Yep.
And learning about things outside of the TSP can help you understand the TSP better.
Yep.
This is not Bitcoin that we're buying. This is Grayscale has created a trust where they buy a lot of Bitcoin, and then they put it out on the secondary market, right? That's not exactly how it is,
right,
but that's the premise, right? It goes out on the secondary market, and then we, because Fidelity is what, well, I'm using.
Fidelity.
You use the same thing. Fidelity, and I use TD Ameritrade, but they have made this as, you know, they've accepted this as one of the assets that you can buy, right? Yep. This trust. So it's not an ETF. It's not actual Bitcoin. It is this trust. So we're not buying Bitcoin. We're not able to buy it. Right. We're buying shares of this trust that are out on the secondary market. Now, what's great about that is that means we can track, you know, Bitcoin as an asset and work with it without having to actually own it.
Right. We're tracking the trust.
Yeah.
We're tracking the price of the trust.
Yeah.
And the trust is composed of Bitcoin and other.
Yeah. Not much different than it is different.
It's very similar to an ETF
but an index. We're not buying 500, you know, those 500 companies in the SP 500.
Right.
And you're not buying Bitcoin with this.
Right.
So just so you guys understand that, and of course we're never going to be able to do that in TSP. I would imagine maybe someday, but not anytime soon. But you can in an IRA, and
I did.
There you go.
I bought it. And why did I buy it? If you guys were watching a couple of weeks ago, I bought it somewhere in there. I'm not exactly sure where it was. I think it was the day, you probably, if you remember, it hit the 4, it hit the 62% retracement level, and so I bought it somewhere in there. And I bought it only on the technicals. It had hit the 200-day moving average, the red line, and the 62% retracement level, the blue line, and it was at the same level as the prior 4-wave. Those are all reasons to buy.
A lot of reasons to buy in.
And there was actually this length was the same as that length, so it was A, B, C. So I bought it at C. Okay. If ABC doesn't pan out, we will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That's why right now, okay, well, before I get to that, a couple days ago, we had that day right there.
Yeah, zooming in's good because it's a lot to.
Yeah. That day right there that looks like a 1 in red is not a 1. It's a reversal day. It opened at the top, it was down over 12% on the day, and came back up and finished where it closed at. I got clobbered that day. Mm-hmm. But it obviously gapped down through the 68% retracement level. And I hem-hawed around about it for a while because I'm like, nah, it's going to come back. I know that my analysis was correct, and I know it's going to come back. Right. And at some point during the day, I shook it off, and I'm like, oh no, I'm selling that thing right now.
Yeah.
Because it broke everything and so I took maybe I don't know, 8 or 9% hit that day. And then the next day it went rocketing back up. Since then, it's back above the 61.8% retracement level, but it's having a hard time getting back up above that 200-day moving average. You see that? Mm-hmm. So if it gets above the 200-day moving average, I'll buy back in.
Yeah, the red line.
Yeah, it's having a hard time getting back above that red line, right? So it's hitting resistance at the 200-day moving average on the upside. The pen, okay. So
your pen never likes you.
Seriously. Okay. So yeah, so it's fine. Because I knew, well, first of all, Grayscale, there's a lot of volatility here. And I trade based on what the pattern of the chart looks like in the retracement levels and the Fibonacci levels, right? The fact that it was down 10 or 11% or whatever, it's a gut punch, but it really has nothing to do with why I would.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. Like, I mean, if people are listening to this and you're like, oh, was it? But at the end of the day, you're always, as I've known you, you're always going to go with like, no, this is what the indicators say.
This is how it works.
I'm going to do it. I don't always do it that way. You're a lot better about, you have a line in the sand. That's it.
I've gotten clobbered before because I've let my little brain take over and oh no, it'll come back.
Yeah.
You know,
let's hope and wish.
Yeah, no,
that's not.
It doesn't work because you cut your losses, right? So I took some losses. I'm cut, and I cut them off. Now, had the market continued lower, and I think it will. I mean, right now it's hitting resistance at that 200-day moving average. If it does roll over and keep going lower, and we hit the C down there somewhere where I have it, then great. Because eventually I'm going to buy back into it because it's for the fundamental reasons that we talked about a little bit in the beginning. Bitcoin isn't going to go to zero here.
No, it's not, no.
It's
so. What's the big takeaway here with the buy, sell, and hold idea? Here, why are we looking at crypto to talk about it, right?
Well, I did this as the charger because I said I would when I bought and sold it I would let everybody know. So in terms of transparency, that's why I did it, and it was a good example. That was one day that pushed down below those levels, and my methodology is you get out when it gets below those levels, and the fact that it turned back up the next day. It doesn't mean I'm going to jump right back in the next day. Right,
and it goes back to our methodology, our mantra, our kind of what did we call it the other day? I mean, it's basically the number one rule.
Yeah,
is in our retirement accounts.
Yeah, which this is in mine.
Right, we don't want to lose money.
Right.
So in my retirement account, I'm out now. I buy Bitcoin in a brokerage account, like in a separate.
Yep.
That I'm not out because I'm going to let it ride because I know it's going to right. But I'm not betting part of my retirement on it.
Right. Sure.
And I'm just pointing that out to people. It's like that's the differences. Is in my retirement account, even though I'm only exposed to a very very small amount in my retirement account, like I'm not. My whole account isn't going into buying Grayscale.
Yeah, no, that's
right.
Good.
I'm sure you're in the same position.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I've kind of started following the rule of like 1 to 5%. I'm willing to play in other things. 95% of my retirement account, I'm not playing with.
Yeah.
Right. Now we go over to a brokerage account where if I sell, there's tax implications, blah, 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 like all the different, these are the differences.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. In my brokerage account or in my, where I'm buying Bitcoin for the long term, totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. Right. When I know that I'm just going to buy it and hold it until 2024, I don't really care what it did yesterday.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we're trying to get through to everybody, educational wise, is the differences in playing these different games.
Yeah.
And it gets mixed up, especially in our Facebook group, as to what you're really talking about when you say, "Oh, you got out on a red day."
Yeah.
What does that mean?
The market's down 3%,
yeah. And we're not, and just, you guys that are watching, we're not dinging you if you are one of those folks that have said that. All we're trying to do is kind of point out the differences in the way we play this game.
Yeah.
We, right? Jerry has come up with a methodology that was very risk averse. And as I followed it, I have learned that, in my retirement account, I want to be freaking risk averse. Yeah. I don't want to lose my retirement. So I'm going to be A, risk averse, B, long-term focused. Right? Months, years, not days, weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Definitely good. Okay. A couple other things I'll point out about the chart. We're not seeing the indicators down here look like they're stabilizing, which is good. For me, it's sort of bad because I'm hoping that it rolls over here. But they're stabilizing, but they're not moving. They're not really moving up. It's not like what you see over here, especially like this. You want to see the indicators really break higher when the price is going to go higher, and that's not what we're seeing right now. So I'm actually really sort of expecting this. This was just a sort of a flash in the pan, but I think we're seeing a 1, 2, 3. Maybe this is a 4. And we get a bigger 5 down to the C.
And we got to let that play out.
Yep, got to play out. Okay. TSP funds, like we said, I did actually two things different this week. I added, or I swapped out one of the indicators. I put in the slow stochastic for Mark, who is a very frequent poster on the site, and I've been playing around with slow stochastic, and I definitely can see how it can add value. So we added that as one of the indicators at the bottom, and I did the weekly chart instead of the daily charts. And so we did 18 months instead of 6 months. So you're looking at an 18-month chart of the C fund.
Yeah, that's a pretty good change in perspective.
Yeah, it looks much different. So here's the slow stochastic. It's similar to the RSI, except you get crossovers in the slow stochastic. So RSI tends to give you an indication of a bottom, for example here, before the MACD bottoms out. So in the MACD, you wouldn't get back in until the crossover here, where the slow stochastic crossover was here. Right. So it's a pretty it's a good indicator. I definitely like the crossovers. That was really the thing that did it for me. Okay, so we're looking at a weekly basis. So the red line is the 10-week moving average. The blue line is the 50-week moving average. You can see once we got back above the 10-week moving average line here, the C fund has pretty much been riding it all the way since the low. So if you wanted to only look at your TSP once a week, it looks, when you look at a chart like this, you're like, whoa, all we had to do was follow the weekly, and as long as it's above the 10-week moving average line, we're good. That is true. If you looked at this on a percentage basis, on a day-to-day percentage basis, it's about 1.5% right now. I think I did the math a little while ago. Like, it's about 1.5% right now. I mean, it's pretty much right on it, it looks like. But the top, where we finished this week on Friday, is 1.5% above that 10-week moving average line. It's, I think it was 13% down to the blue moving average line. So what I'm basically saying is, if you make trading decisions based on the weekly charts, you have to allow for a lot more room.
Yeah, a lot more wiggle room.
A lot more wiggle room, and a lot of people aren't willing to do it. But if you do like to only look at it, I mean, you could just look at it on Saturday, see where the market finished on Saturday, look at the chart, and put your trade in on Monday and call it a day, and look at it again the next weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, big picture, 30 years, 20 years, yep, you're going to fare reasonably well.
Absolutely.
You're going to fare a lot better than people that just ride it.
Yeah, right.
Buy and hold, like don't even pay attention to it, just leave it. And I would imagine you're going to do better than the L funds. We'd have to kind of take a look at that, but I would argue that you probably are going to.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just looked at this chart, you would absolutely get out on that week. And if you look at it, you took a huge hit. Mm-hmm. I mean, you would have to suck up a huge loss in your account right there.
But you didn't go all the way to the bottom.
You didn't go all the way to the bottom, and you didn't know that bottom was going to happen.
Yeah, there's no way.
There's no way to know. So, you know, it's kind of easy for us to say, okay, if you had gotten out there, which is the only place you would have gotten out, given
if you were following
if you were following this weekly method. I mean, for us, we got out right there.
Because we're doing daily.
Because we're doing, I mean, I look at weekly and daily.
Weekly.
I do all of it. Yeah. But we got out, we got out there.
You look at it more than once a week. That's the difference, right? Back to your original point. If all you wanted to do was look at this once a week throughout your career, that would work for you.
Yeah, it would.
It's not going to work the best, but if that's what your time,
allows.
Exactly. And that's what we keep trying to get to people is find your method.
Yep.
And it may change throughout your career. Like we've had busy assignments, jobs,
sure.
And those times are like, man, I'd be lucky if I could look at it once a month. Right. So that's the way you kind of play this long term.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So on a weekly perspective here, where we are right now, I mean, we haven't really moved much. we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've just done 8 weeks of basically consolidation.
That's a pretty solid sideways.
Yeah. I mean, 8 weeks is a pretty long time. You're not seeing that. You get this. That's about it in the last 18 months of that kind of sideways consolidation.
Which is a good example of why we use, or not we, they use indexes in the TSP versus what we were just looking at with Grayscale.
Sure.
That volatility that's in most stocks, not just crypto.
Oh, yeah.
It's all over the place, right? It would be extremely hard to do this, to do any sort of active management within the TSP if those things were so volatile. So this is actually in our favor.
It is. I mean, as much as I complain about the rules in TSP, and I wish we had other things, I don't wish that we had the ability to trade crypto in TSP.
No.
I like the simplicity of the 5 funds. I
don't even want to trade Google.
No, I mean, any of that. No, because you could drop 10% in a day, and it could gap down 10% at the open.
Use
and
indexes.
you can't do it. So now I would like to be able to. I don't understand. I'm sure there's not a technical reason why they couldn't allow us to trade at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I
think early on that was probably an issue. You can't tell me it is now.
Yeah, no, there's no technical reason why.
Noon is not a problem. I mean, noon is, there's no magic thing that happens at noon.
Right.
It could definitely be closing and okay, give us 4, 3:30. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, moving on.
So we got about an 8-week consolidation, and again, I wouldn't be selling it right now, but until it decides which way it wants to go out of that 8-week consolidation, I'm not buying it and I'm not selling it.
Yeah, wherever you're at, you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're saying if you're in right now,
right,
stay there.
Yeah, I would.
If you're out, stay there.
If you're out, you're out. Yeah. There's no reason to buy it now because there's nothing that's showing you that it's going to break to the upside out of that 8-week consolidation on this weekly basis chart. There's just nothing. I mean, you got low volume the last 2 weeks. The MACD crossed down. The RSI is trending down. Now the slow stochastic has ticked up. So, and the slow stochastic is an early indicator. It's possible that next week it does pop and we get an alert. I mean, who knows, right? Okay. S fund is actually pretty interesting. It looks more like where we were back here on the C fund, right? We get this kind of W pattern going on. The MACD is definitely still in a downtrend, but the stochastic is starting to come back up. It looks like, not the stochastic, the histogram for the MACD. The slow stochastic definitely has already turned, and the RSI is going back positive. So for me, I'm looking at this high because this one was lower. Right, that was a lower high.
So if we break that previous high.
Yeah, we break that previous high. It's a good chance I'd be getting back into the S fund. I fund, I did the math on this too, and I cannot remember exactly what it is, but it obviously it's pretty well extended beyond the 10-week and really extended beyond the 50-week. So, given that everything, is pretty much topped out and it's been flat. I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot of movement in the I fund, even though the price has continued higher. So again, if I owned it, I would hold it, but I wouldn't be buying it here
or selling.
Yeah. If I own, there's no reason to sell it, and I don't see a good reason to buy it right now. The F fund. What would you say about the F fund?
It's a bad word that I would say.
It is kind of a bad word. You look at that chart and you're like, obviously it's a huge breakout.
Yeah.
Right? You had, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks sideways, and then this week had a huge positive move to the upside. Volume wasn't great. That's not a good thing.
That's probably the only indicator that's not.
It is, right.
Yeah.
But what it means is there's not a lot of institutional buying behind that move. Right. So it's an important indicator. It's not as important as price.
Yeah. And what does that mean? I mean, let's make sure, because again, we're always assuming that there's people that are brand new to this and whatever, but institutional buying means when volume goes way up, that means big money,
right?
Big institutions are
buying big chunks of shares.
Buying big chunks, which they don't do that unless they're seeing the same things we're talking about. Right. They're all in. They don't go all in on a hunch.
If they, on a hunch, or if they think it's going to roll over.
Yeah, they're not.
And so I mean, they call it footprints.
That's one little indicator that says, well, maybe that would make us kind of a little more hesitant, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Now, if we had a big volume there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because so first of all, I even though that's a big clear breakout move. It was only, I think, that's the weekly. I think it was up 0.25% today.
Yeah, because the F fund doesn't. That's not a big move.
Right, it's not a big mover. Yeah. So if we're in the G fund now, I'm not using a move to go into the F fund where it went up 0.48%, almost 0.5%. But you can see it's 0.5% is a huge amount, relatively speaking. Right?
Relatively, right.
So it's not, the risk reward isn't there.
It's not exciting us.
No. Especially given that the S fund possibly is in a position where we might want to get back into it.
Right. So it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the stock funds rolled over and the F fund continued higher, the F fund's definitely the place to be. You got slow stochastic, obviously, is doing great. MACD has already crossed positive. Histogram's positive. The only thing, you're right, the only problem is that low volume. So this is a really good example of technical analysis and why I'm not doing it, because it's not, the risk reward isn't there to do it. So CSIF. That's it.
No chart for the G fund.
No chart for the G fund. G fund's like flat essentially.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I told you it was going to be short, bro.
You actually were correct. Even though I distracted you and babbled.
You did.
We're still at like 37 minutes. This has got to be one of the quickest shows we've had. Sometimes it just works out that way.
That's okay.
Yeah, we're not in the business of making these shows long, just so you guys know. We actually try to stay within 30 to 45 minutes. What ends up happening is, we want to cover all the bases and get all the information out. Sometimes it goes long. I mean, if Joe Rogan can talk for 3 hours, we can talk for 45 minutes. I have
never listened to one of Joe Rogan's whole podcasts. I can't.
Not the whole thing.
Love the guy, but I can't listen to 3 hours of anybody.
No. He's never listened to 3 hours of me. He'll go to sleep. All right, guys. As usual, if you like the show, please share it with your friends. Tell your folks at work about it. We're doing our best to give you guys as much information as we can in a free content world where, you can get analysis of the TSP funds that will help you make decisions. Okay. If you like what you're hearing, if you like what we're doing, check out our website. We do have a service where we also give you a lot more in-depth analysis each week in a newsletter. It goes more in depth than we do here on the show. And we also do alerts, which are allocation alerts that lets you know when we are moving our money. So you can kind of look over our shoulder and say, okay, we call it validation, right? So it's education, validation. You make your own decision. Hopefully we all do well.
Yep, absolutely. Did you throw the ebook?
I did. I don't know if I plugged the ebook. So we did the live earlier. Yep. Jerry just wrote a pretty extensive ebook. We had one out for a while that was, it was lacking, right? We did it. We just did a quick version. This one, Jerry really sat down and rewrote this whole thing. Props to Jerry for, giving us a good foundation of how you can approach, how you can choose an investment strategy, not necessarily just ours, right? Jerry went into like the different ways, passive and active, different ways that you can approach investing in the thrift savings plan. It's a great read. We will have it out on Facebook and other places, sort of in ads and whatnot to download. But you guys watching the show and people that watch the live, if you want to download an early copy, what we'd really ask you to do is download it, read it, give us some feedback. Yeah. If you download it, the link right now is growmytsp.com/Facebook Live. I'll throw it in the comments section of this. If you go to our Facebook page or the Facebook group, you'll see it there already. But growmytsp.com/Facebook Live, all one word. When you do that, you put your name and email in there. We'll send it to you, and then we'll ask you, hey, give us some feedback, right?
Yeah, it definitely will help, because this isn't going to be the last book, right?
No,
It's just the first
it's
one.
a living document.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we call it? Yeah, definitely a living document. And we're doing all this basically to do our best to get information out there to the average federal employee or military member that, like, we were there. You know, I mean, Jerry came into the federal service and to the federal government and to the military already having some background in investing, right? Your dad did a lot. He taught you a lot.
Yeah.
Me,
this didn't exist, though.
Yeah,
Like the TSP didn't even exist the way
not
it is.
the way it is now.
No.
And I had nothing to go from. So knowing that it would be nice to come into this, or even halfway through my career, to have gotten this information, we're hoping that people see the value in it.
Yeah, that's really the thing, is getting the word out that you can manage TSP. And I mean, my daughter's in ROTC at Penn State, and she's got her TSP account all squared away. And my son's in the
daughter and my son-in-law
Navy,
are in the TSP and the Marines. So we have skin in the game.
Yeah.
We definitely know how important this topic is. Hopefully you guys can see that, and you're getting a lot of value.
So share it with your friends. Don't hold it to yourself. That's really the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
Nobody wants to talk about finances. It's just one of those things, like, you don't talk about religion and politics and finance, really.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? But it's needed.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hope you had a great weekend. You're watching this probably on Sunday night or Monday. We are going to get our weekend started.
Giddy up.
All right. And let's rock and roll.